Prologue 2. Elsewhere in Steel territory. The aromas of roasted game and spiced wine curled through Hearthstone Hall, but Sinmi tasted only the copper tang of resolve. He sat stiffly beside his father, the great elder King Zandro Thalorin, while Akira Steel, the Grand Chieftain himself, laughed at some half-forgotten tale of border negotiations and narrow victories. The sound echoed through the stone hall, polished and ancestral, a hollow celebration. Sinmi's hand hovered over his goblet. He did not drink. He stood. The scrape of his chair against granite sliced through the conversation like a blade. All talk ceased. Every head turned. Akira's gaze locked on him first, eyes sharp, unreadable. The warmth from moments before vanished. Zandro merely raised a brow, though Sinmi saw the flick of tension ripple down his father's jaw.
Grand Chieftain,
Sinmi began, voice steady despite the blood roaring in his ears.
Elder King Zandro, I come before you with formal intent.
A silence bloomed across the table. Even the servants paused, as if the fire itself held its breath. Akira steepled his fingers beneath his chin, the slightest softening of his stance, the only concession to the change in tone.
Speak, Sinmi,
Akira said. His voice was quiet but absolute.
Your tone suggests no trivial matter. You have no enemies here. Speak freely.
Sinmi drew in a slow, measured breath, the kind warriors took before stepping into battle. The fabric of his vest strained against his chest with the motion, tension radiating through every muscle. He had rehearsed this moment 100 times. In thought, in dreams. But here, beneath their gaze, beneath the weight of legacy itself, it felt altogether different.
I know the path laid before me,
he said, voice low but unwavering.
I know the bond arranged for the sake of alliances, for the good of the realm.
He paused. Let them hear the truth gathering behind his words.
But it is not the bond I seek to choose.
A silence bloomed across the table. Even the servants paused as if the fire itself held its breath.
I, Sinmi Thalorin, firstborn of the Elder King, formally declare my intent to claim Akira Steel as my lifemate, not for duty, not for politics, but because without her, I would stand as steel with no flame to temper it. Without her, I am a shell of a man.
Silence fell in the hall, thick, reverent, and absolute. Sinmi stood before them, unarmored for the first time in his life, not by blade, but by choice. He let the words settle, an arrow fired straight into legacy itself. Sinmi reached for his goblet and took a long, steady swig. Akira's head tilted, a flicker of something like amusement breaking across his features. He rose slowly, silver-threaded robes catching firelight like tempered blades.
This declaration honors both our houses,
he said, his voice low but resonant.
The Steel clan would welcome such a union.
He placed a hand on Sinmi's shoulder, warm, firm, unshaking.
You've been as a son to me already. Let this bond make truth of what has always lived in our hearts.
He gave a sudden, sharp laugh that echoed off the stone, and just as swiftly fell silent. When he spoke again, the words were weighted, shaped from experience.
Hear me, youngling. Never allow policy nor politics to rule your heart. If ever I wondered how much you have grown, tonight I rest assured. Yes, tonight is indeed a joyous day, for I have lived long enough to see you rise from youngling to man. Blessed am I, and blessed are you.
He removed his hand, seized his goblet, and raised it toward Zandro in an unspoken toast before drinking deeply. When he lowered the cup, he motioned for a servant to refill it. A flicker of relief danced in Sinmi's eyes. Aradin's approval washed through him, a balm earned, a burden briefly lifted. But as he turned to meet Zandro's gaze, the warmth in his chest cooled. Zandro remained seated, his goblet untouched, his expression carved in stone. When he finally spoke, each syllable landed like a chisel.
Does she return your affection?
Sinmi faltered, just for a breath.
We share a bond.
Zandro's eyes narrowed, not cruel but cold in the way of ancient judgment.
You were raised as kin, as siblings.
Aradin interjected.
Not by blood.
But by familiarity, by shared rites and rhythms.
Zandro replied, unmoved.
Does she see you as a brother, Sinmi, or something more?
Sinmi's spine stiffened.
She knows how I feel.
That was not my question.
The words hit like stone against rib. Sinmi's grip tightened on the back of his chair. The room watched, silent and ravenous.
I have not spoken the full extent of my intentions to her,
he said finally. Zandro's response was smooth, practiced, honed across centuries of diplomacy.
Then before I bless this union, I must be certain her heart mirrors your own, fully, freely, without question.
He set down his goblet. The motion was gentle but final. Zandro pressed on, smooth and inexorable.
I did not negotiate your betrothal to spite you, contrary to what you may believe.
There was no anger in his voice, only something heavier, something final. Zandro reached for his knife and fork with the poised ease of a man who had ruled longer than some kingdoms had existed. He sliced into a succulent Turlevine thigh with surgical precision, inspecting the morsel before placing it in his mouth. His eyes closed briefly, not in indulgence but in silent, calculating patience. When he spoke again, his voice was smooth, but weighted like a blade laid gently across Sinmi's neck.
Had I known what you harbored in your heart,
he said, voice devoid of censure but colder for its restraint,
the agreement would never have been sealed.
He set down his utensils with deliberate care, the quiet clink sounding louder than a shout.
I will not risk a war on the back of one-sided affection,
Zandro continued, his silver gaze narrowing.
Nor will I be the one to shackle Akira to a bond she does not return.
The steel in his voice sharpened further.
I will not approve this union unless her feelings mirror yours. Fully, freely, without question.
He let the words hang heavy in the charged silence before delivering the final blow, measured, inescapable.
And if they do not?
He paused, just long enough to let the weight settle in Sinmi's chest.
You will yield. You will step aside. And you will honor her choice, without hesitation, without protest, without pride.
The words hung in the air, each syllable a stone dropped into the still waters of the Hearthstone Hall.
I suggest,
Zandro continued,
that you find the time to clarify your intentions with the one you intend to share your life with.
There was no cruelty in the words, only truth. The heavy doors to the hall burst open with a bang that made several servants jump. King Thalorin tumbled in, followed by a harried-looking servant. His formal robes were askew, his silver hair wind-blown as if he'd run or flown to arrive.
"Apologies,"
Chu announced, loud enough to echo.
"I was detained by the most fascinating encounter with a merchant selling what he claimed were authentic silver dragon scales. Obvious fakes, of course, but the craftsmanship was..."
He stopped mid-sentence, finally registering the tension in the room.
"Did I interrupt something? Please, tell me I interrupted something boring. Treaties are so dreadfully dull."
The spell of confrontation broke. Several nervous laughs rippled through the gathering. Sinmi had never been more grateful for his brother's chaotic timing.
Nothing of consequence,
Zandro said smoothly.
We were discussing family matters.
"Oh."
Chu's eyes darted between Sinmi and their father, reading the situation with the sharp intelligence he often disguised beneath frivolity.
"Well, in that case, I'm doubly sorry to have missed it. Family matters are my favorite kind of matters."
With a theatrical sigh, he dropped into the seat beside Zandro and grabbed a plate, as if food might shield him from whatever storm he had walked into.
"Well, Thuzrak,"
Chu drawled.
"Did someone die? Or did we just run out of Uncle's favorite wine?"
He snatched a honeyed pastry from a nearby tray, waving it like a peace flag.
"I am morally obligated to ignore all catastrophes until breakfast,"
he added, chewing with theatrical solemnity. No one laughed. Except Aradin, one short bark of sound, sharp enough to crack the silence. Zandro's face didn't move. Aradin exhaled slowly, lifting his chalice to his lips and taking a long, deliberate drink before motioning for a server to refill it. Chu raised a brow.
"Well, at least it's not the wine,"
he mused, watching the dark liquid pour into Aradin's cup. Aradin turned his gaze on Chu, and the room dropped a few degrees. His expression was blank, but his stare was chilling, silent, piercing, devoid of humor. Chu ducked his head, suddenly very interested in his plate, shoveling food into his mouth as if it were his only means of survival.
"Tough crowd,"
he muttered under his breath. Sinmi drew in a slow breath before exhaling sharply.
May I be excused?
He asked, his voice controlled but laced with frustration. Aradin didn't respond immediately. Instead, he turned to Zandro, making the smallest motion with his fingers, a silent indication that Sinmi could leave. Zandro raised one finger, halting him.
Does Vera know?
The question cut clean through the room, freezing Sinmi mid-motion, his spine going rigid. Zandro, unhurried as ever, dabbed at his mouth with practiced precision, then set the napkin aside. His eyes, keen and unwavering, settled on his son.
Does Vera know?
Sinmi's jaw tightened.
No, she is unaware,
he said, voice clipped. Zandro sighed, rubbing his temples as if warding off an impending headache.
You are excused.
Sinmi didn't wait. He turned and strode out, shoulders taut with barely checked emotion. Chu watched his brother go, tilting his head as if inspecting a wounded beast. A sharp smack landed on the back of his head.
Mind your plate,
Zandro muttered, settling back into his chair.
and chew with your mouth closed.
Chu grumbled, but obeyed, wisely, silently. Part 2. Sinmi stalked through the outer courtyard, each footstep landing with enough force to crack the ancient stones beneath. Guards averted their eyes as he passed, recognizing the particular set of his shoulders that preceded violence. The night air hit his face, cool against the flush of humiliation still burning under his skin. He didn't stop at the compound's edge, didn't pause to consider. He simply walked until the shadows of the pine forest swallowed him, then tilted his head back and let the transformation tear through him. The change came like wildfire in dry brush. His skin prickled, then burned, as bones lengthened and reformed. The sound of his formal robes ripping filled his ears before the roar of blood and magic drowned everything else. He fell forward onto hands that were no longer hands, his spine extending, vertebrae cracking into new positions. The pain was cleansing, a physical manifestation of the rage coiling through him. He welcomed it. Sinmi's dragon form burst upward through the canopy, silver scales catching moonlight as his wings unfurled with a sound like thunder. He launched himself skyward, each powerful downstroke carrying him higher, away from stone halls and political constraints, away from his father's cold assessment and his own exposed weakness. The wind screamed past him as he climbed, thin air burning in lungs now built for fire rather than breath. He broke through the cloud layer, moisture condensing on his scales, then banking sharply east toward the mountain peaks. His wings sliced through night air with precision born from countless hours of training. Below, the landscape shrank to miniature, the steel temple complex a collection of glowing dots, the forests dark patches against silver-washed plains. He roared, the sound echoing across valleys and returning to him seconds later. Let them hear, let them know. Let his father understand the depths of what he'd dismissed so casually. Sinmi tucked his wings and dove, gravity pulling him toward earth at terrifying speed. The rush filled his mind, drowning thought in pure sensation. Seconds before impact with the forest canopy, he snapped his wings open, the force of arrested momentum straining muscle and tendon. He shot forward parallel to the ground, close enough to flatten tall grass beneath the pressure wave of his passing. He climbed again, higher still, where the air thinned and stars hung close enough to touch. Then spun, a corkscrew maneuver no ordinary dragon could execute, his body twisting through complex patterns that pushed the limits of physical possibility. The movements grew more violent, more erratic. No longer the controlled demonstration of skill, but something wild and desperate, an attempt to outfly the doubts chasing him through the night sky. In the midst of a particularly brutal turn, a memory surfaced. Akira, at 16, watching him train from the practice ground's edge. Her face serious as she studied his forms, then breaking into rare, unguarded delight when he executed a perfect sequence. "Again!" she'd called, her voice carrying across the yard. Not praise, but demand, as if she knew he was capable of more than even he believed. And he'd done it again, better, because she asked. The memory cut through his rage like cold water. Sinmi's wings faltered mid-beat, and he lost altitude in a stomach-dropping lurch before regaining control. Enough. This solved nothing. He descended gradually, scanning the landscape for a suitable landing site. The eastern forest edge offered a clearing large enough to accommodate his dragon form, far from the temple compound, but not so distant he couldn't return quickly if needed. He spiraled down, landing with controlled force that sent small animals scattering from underbrush. The transformation back was slower, more painful. His body resisted the change, preferring the simpler emotions and instincts of dragon form to the complex tangle of human feeling waiting for him. Muscle and bone contracted, scales melding back into skin, wings collapsing into shoulder blades with grinding pressure. When the change completed, he fell forward onto hands and knees in the dirt, naked and sweating despite the night's chill. Sinmi remained there, breath coming in harsh gasps, forehead pressed against the earth. Fatigue rolled through him in waves, the aftermath of transformation and emotional excess. He'd pushed himself too far, too fast. His limbs trembled with exhaustion.
Fool,
he muttered to himself, the word half lost against the ground. More memories rose, unbidden. Akira at dawn practice, hair tied back, concentration evident in the precise line of her mouth. Akira laughing with Chu, head thrown back to expose the elegant curve of her throat. Akira during the spring festival, fingers sticky with honey bread, refusing his offer of a napkin with mock haughtiness that made him want to kiss the sweetness from her lips. Akira watching him when she thought he wouldn't notice, her eyes carrying a weight he'd never seen directed at anyone else.
but was that enough? Was that love, or simply the familiarity of shared history?
Sinmi rolled onto his back, staring up at stars partially obscured by branches. Zandro's questions had exposed the hollow center of his certainty. What proof did he have that Akira returned his feelings? That she saw him as anything other than the brother figure he'd been for most of her life? The possibility that he'd misread everything, that the connection he felt existed only in his imagination, sent pain lancing through his chest sharper than any physical wound. He'd been so consumed with his own desire, his own certainty, that he'd never stopped to question whether she felt the same.
By the scales.
He whispered to the uncaring sky.
What if she doesn't want me?
The question hung in the night air, giving voice to the fear he'd refused to acknowledge until now. His fist connected with the ground beside him, the impact leaving a small crater in the forest floor. Dirt and crushed vegetation clung to his knuckles as he pulled his hand back. What then? If he approached her with his heart laid bare, only to be gently refused? Could he bear to remain in her life, to watch her eventually choose another? The thought made his stomach turn. And yet the alternative, never knowing, never asking, seemed equally unbearable. Sinmi pressed the heels of his palms against his eyes, as if he could physically block the cascade of doubt flooding his mind. His body ached from the double transformation, his spirit from the weight of uncertainty. For the first time since childhood, he felt truly lost, caught between duty and desire, between certainty and fear, between the man he was raised to be and the one he wanted to become. He lowered his hands and stared up at the fragments of night sky visible through the canopy. Somewhere in that same sky, under those same stars, Akira existed, perhaps still at the feast, perhaps wondering at his absence. The thought of her grounded him, pulling him back from the edge of despair. Whatever came next, he would face it. For her, for himself, for the truth they both deserved.
You know,
Chu's voice cut through the stillness.
there are more dignified ways to commune with nature than lying naked in the dirt.
Sinmi didn't bother opening his eyes. He'd sensed his brother's approach minutes ago, the particular rhythm of his footsteps, the subtle disturbance in the air that accompanied him everywhere.
Go away, Chu.
And miss this magnificent display of elder brother vulnerability? Never.
Chu's boots appeared in Sinmi's peripheral vision as he plopped down beside him, close enough to talk, but far enough to dodge a potential strike. He tossed a bundle onto Sinmi's chest.
Brought you clothes. You're welcome.
Sinmi grudgingly sat up, shaking dirt from his hair. The bundle contained a simple tunic and pants, practical rather than formal. He pulled them on with efficient movements, dignity long abandoned between brothers.
How did you find me?
He asked, though he already knew the answer. Chu gestured vaguely at the sky.
You're not exactly subtle when you're upset. I'm pretty sure they heard your roaring in the Bronze Territories.
He picked up a twig and began stripping bark from it.
Besides, you always come here when Father gets under your skin.
Sinmi grunted, neither confirming nor denying. He finished dressing and leaned back against a tree trunk, suddenly aware of how drained he felt. The double transformation had depleted him more than he'd realized.
So,
Chu continued, tossing the naked twig aside.
that was quite the spectacle back there, declaring your intentions for Akira without actually telling Akira first.
He whistled low.
Bold strategy.
I followed tradition.
Ah, yes, tradition. Father's favorite mistress.
Chu's tone remained light, but his eyes held unusual sharpness.
How's that working out for you?
Sinmi's jaw tightened.
What do you want, Chu? If you came to mock me, get on with it.
Mock you? Me?
Chu pressed a hand to his chest in exaggerated innocence.
I would never mock a man who just had his heart and pride publicly filleted by our beloved father.
His expression softened fractionally.
I came to check on you. Contrary to popular belief, I do occasionally care about things.
The simple admission deflated some of Sinmi's defensiveness. He exhaled slowly, tension easing from his shoulders.
It was a miscalculation.
Spectacular miscalculation.
Chu agreed cheerfully.
Legendary, even. They'll write songs about it. The ballad of Sinmi's poorly timed declaration, I'll commission it myself.
Despite everything, Sinmi felt the corner of his mouth twitch upward.
You're insufferable.
Part of my charm.
Chu settled more comfortably against a neighboring tree.
So, Akira, you're actually going through with this?
The question landed more gently than Zandro's interrogation, but it carried similar weight. Sinmi stared into the darkness between trees, organizing his thoughts.
Yes.
He finally said. The simple answer felt more honest than any elaborate justification. Chu nodded, unsurprised.
You've wanted her for years. I was beginning to think you'd never act on it.
Sinmi's head snapped toward his brother.
What do you mean?
Please.
Chu rolled his eyes.
You think I haven't noticed how you look at her? How you always position yourself to keep her in sight? How you find excuses to touch her arm, her shoulder?
He shook his head.
The only person who might not know is Akira herself.
Heat crawled up Sinmi's neck.
Am I that transparent?
Only to those of us blessed with actual observational skills.
Chu picked up another twig, this one thicker, and began balancing it on one finger.
Father knows too, by the way. That's why he cornered you tonight. He's been anticipating this move for months.
The revelation settled like a stone in Sinmi's stomach.
Then why the objection, if he saw it coming?
Because he's Zandro Thalorin, Elder King and Master of Emotional Manipulation.
Chu's voice shifted into a perfect imitation of their father's authoritative tone.
A king must consider all angles before acting. Patience reveals weaknesses that haste conceals.
He dropped the impersonation with a snort.
He wanted to see how you'd react under pressure.
And I failed his test.
Did you? You didn't back down.
Chu tossed the stick away.
You just didn't have the answer he wanted.
They sat in silence for a moment, the forest sounds filling the space between them, rustling leaves, distant animal calls, the soft whisper of wind through branches.
Do you think she feels the same?
Sinmi finally asked, the question emerging quieter than he intended. Chu studied him with uncharacteristic seriousness.
I think Akira feels many things she doesn't express. She was raised to contain, not reveal.
He paused, choosing his next words carefully.
But I've seen how she watches when you train, how she keeps your letters, how she defends you when others criticize.
That could be family loyalty.
Could be,
Chu agreed.
or it could be something else.
He leaned forward.
Here's what I know about Akira that you might not. She fears being controlled more than anything. Every decision in her life has been made by others. Where she lives, what she studies, who she speaks to. The path laid out for her is clear and inflexible.
Sinmi frowned.
I would never control her.
Wouldn't you?
Chu's question held no accusation, just quiet challenge.
You've planned this union without consulting her. Decided it was right without asking what she wants.
The observation struck with uncomfortable precision. Sinmi ran a hand through his hair, dislodging more dirt.
I assumed she would.
He stopped, the justification hollow even to his own ears.
Love isn't about assumptions.
Chu said, surprising Sinmi with the insight.
It's about choice. Free, uncoerced choice.
When did you become so wise about matters of the heart?
Sinmi asked, deflecting from the uncomfortable truth his brother had exposed. Chu grinned.
I've had significantly more experience with women than you, brother. Quality and quantity.
That's not the same as love.
No.
Chu agreed, unexpectedly serious again.
It's not, which is how I recognize the difference.
He held Sinmi's gaze.
What you feel for Akira, it's not just desire or familiarity or political convenience. I've watched you with her for years. The way you look at her is how father used to look at mother before.
He stopped abruptly, the rare reference to their mother hanging between them. Sinmi swallowed against the sudden tightness in his throat.
I love her,
he admitted, the words both terrifying and freeing.
not as a sister or a clanmate or a political match. I love her for who she is, stubborn, brilliant, fierce.
His voice dropped lower.
I love her in ways I can't fully explain, even to myself.
Chu rolled his shoulders, tone dry.
Placing true love aside for a moment, you're forgetting someone. Someone with a last name and a contract.
Sinmi didn't respond, but his silence said enough.
This path,
Chu went on,
would void your betrothal. That alone would cause ripples, even for us. Bronze alliances don't break cleanly.
Vera.
Sinmi muttered, jaw tightening. Chu nodded once.
Lady Vera Zinthra, scholar, strategist, daughter of Magistrate Halion Zinthra, practically a bronze dragon princess.
I know who she is.
Sinmi bit off. The bitterness in his voice was impossible to miss.
She's everything father wants in a political match,
Chu said.
Flawless heritage, sharp mind, fucks like a ledger sheet, probably.
That earned a twitch of Sinmi's lip, almost a smile.
She sees me as an extension of our alliance.
He said quietly.
Not as a man. She talks about obligation, about our unification.
He lifted his fingers in sharp air quotes.
Like it's already law. She's never once mentioned joy or choice.
Oof.
Chu gave a low whistle.
Star spawn. Romantic. Bet she's got a detailed mating schedule drafted and signed in triplicate.
The laugh that escaped Sinmi wasn't loud, but it was real.
But father approved her because she's safe,
He said, voice darkening.
clean. Bronze law and elven tradition align. No waves, no questions. Just another piece of legacy locked in place.
Chu's tone softened.
And then there's Akira.
Sinmi didn't answer. His thoughts were already slipping toward firelit memories and the wild, unscripted way Akira moved through life. The way she saw him, not as a prince, not as a pawn, just him.
Well then,
Chu clapped his hands on his thighs.
you're thoroughly vracked.
The crude Surdrak curse startled a laugh from Sinmi.
Your eloquence is unmatched.
It's a gift.
Chu's smile turned genuine.
For what it's worth, I think you should tell Akira. Not with formal declarations or clan politics, just tell her. The worst she can do is reject you.
That's precisely what I fear.
Better to know than to wonder.
Chu rose to his feet, brushing dirt from his pants.
And if she does reject you, I promise to find you the most beautiful, accommodating courtesan to ease your broken heart.
He extended a hand.
Starting with those twins from the Pleasure Palace.
Sinmi took the offered hand and pulled himself up, muscles protesting the movement.
Your solution to heartache is courtesans?
My solution to everything is courtesans.
Chu corrected with a wink.
But in this case, I don't think you'll need them.
He squeezed Sinmi's shoulder once, the gesture conveying more genuine support than his words.
She'd be a fool not to want you, and Akira is many things, but never a fool.
The simple vote of confidence eased something tight in Sinmi's chest. He nodded once, not trusting himself to speak. Chu jerked his head toward the distant lights of the compound.
Come on, if we hurry back, we might catch the end of the feast. I heard they're serving that blackberry dessert you pretend not to like.
They started walking side by side, their strides automatically adjusting to match each other's pace, a habit formed through years of hunting together. The silence between them was comfortable now, stripped of the defensive tension that had marked their initial encounter. As they neared the edge of the forest, Chu spoke again, his voice uncharacteristically soft.
Whatever happens with Akira, whether she returns your feelings or not, you won't face it alone. That's what brothers are for.
Sinmi didn't reply with words. Instead, he clasped Chu's shoulder briefly, the gesture carrying all he couldn't say aloud. They continued toward the lights of home, two silhouettes moving in perfect synchronization through the darkness.